In 1901, a Greek sponge diver pulled a corroded bronze hand out of the sea. It belonged to a statue. But next to that statue, in the rotting hull of a Roman shipwreck, sat something that would take 100 years to understand. A device with more than 30 interlocking gears. A machine that could predict the future. Built 2,000 years ago, and nobody knows who made it. This is the Antikythera Mechanism, and it is the most impossible object ever found. The wreck lay 50 meters down, off a tiny island between Crete and the Greek mainland called Antikythera. The diver's name was Aegean. He was part of a crew hunting for natural sponges, the way Greek divers had done for generations. He dropped into the water expecting the usual rocks, sand, maybe a good harvest. Instead, he found a field of ancient bronze and marble scattered across the seafloor. Life-size statues, coins, glassware, jewelry. An entire cargo ship from the Roman world, sitting right where it had gone down more than 2,000 years earlier. The hull was enormous, one of the greatest underwater archaeological finds in history. But among the treasures was one object nobody cared about, a lump of corroded bronze and petrified wood, roughly the size of a shoebox. It did not look like treasure. It did not look like anything. Museum staff in Athens cataloged it, noted the corrosion, and put it in a drawer, and there it sat, for 60 years. Think about that. For 6 decades, the most advanced piece of ancient technology ever discovered gathered dust in a storage room in Athens, sitting alongside pottery shards and broken amphora handles, because it just looked like a rock. Then in 1959, a British science historian named Derek Day Sola-Price took a closer look. He noticed something inside the corrosion. Gear teeth. Tiny, precise, interlocking gear teeth cut into bronze plates. Price realized this was not a rock. It was a machine. And when he started to understand what the machine did, it changed everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. Here is what the Antikythera Mechanism could do. It tracked the position of the sun and the moon across the sky. It predicted solar and lunar eclipses years in advance using a complex cycle the Babylonians had discovered called the Saros cycle. It followed the irregular orbit of the moon, the way the moon speeds up and slows down as it travels, using a mechanism so clever that engineers today still marvel at it. It tracked the positions of at least 5 planets visible to the naked eye: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. And on one of its dials, it counted down to the next Olympic Games. All of this in a box you could hold in your hands. You turned a crank on the side, and the cosmos moved. The engineering is staggering. The device used epicyclic gearing. That is a system where smaller gears rotate inside larger ones, producing complex overlapping motions from a single input. If that sounds familiar, it should. It is the same principle used in modern automatic transmissions, the kind in your car, except this was built around 150 BC, 2,000 years before the assembly line, 2,000 years before electricity. Someone sat down with bronze and hand tools and built a working model of the solar system. And here is the part that stops historians cold. After this mechanism was built, nothing even remotely this complex appeared anywhere in the world for 1,400 years. Not in Rome at its height, not in China during the Tang dynasty, not in Baghdad during the Islamic Golden Age. The next known device with comparable gearing is a set of medieval European astronomical clocks from the 1300s. That is a gap of over a millennium. Whatever tradition of knowledge produced this machine did not survive. The expertise simply vanished, as if a door closed and nobody on the other side remembered how to open it. For decades after Price's discovery, researchers could only study the exterior. The fragments were too fragile to take apart. But in 2006, a team brought in high-resolution CT scanning equipment and looked inside the corroded layers for the first time. What they found was extraordinary. Hidden beneath the corrosion were tiny Greek inscriptions, thousands of characters, barely visible to the naked eye, instructions from the maker explaining how to use the device. A user manual, essentially, etched into the bronze by the person who built it. But the maker never signed their name. We do not know who created the Antikythera Mechanism. There are theories. The island of Rhodes was home to a renowned school of advanced mechanics and astronomy. Cicero, the Roman orator, wrote about visiting Rhodes and seeing a bronze device that modeled the motions of the sun, moon, and planets. Some researchers have traced the lineage of the mechanism's design back to the tradition of Archimedes himself, the greatest engineer of the ancient world. But we cannot be certain. The builder, whoever they were, left detailed instructions but no signature. No name, no school, nothing. And even now, with all our imaging technology and computational modeling, some of the gear functions remain unknown. There are components inside the mechanism whose purpose we still have not figured out. We have a 2,000-year-old computer sitting in a museum in Athens, and we cannot fully read its code. That, to me, is the real mystery. Not just that it existed, but that an entire tradition of knowledge, advanced enough to produce something that would not be matched for 14 centuries, could simply disappear. Gone, as if it never happened. Except for one machine on one ship that sank to the bottom of the Aegean Sea and waited there for someone to find it. The full story, how it was built, who built it, and why it was lost, is on the channel now. A 102-minute sleep story, link in the description.